Hello, welcome to another special Unsourced World Radio. I recently did this like 2 minutes ago, but unfortunately my mic was off, and because you know, we're moving on, redoing this. I want to give my first initial reactions and thoughts to the Flash trailer that premiered during Super Bowl this tonight. And okay, first of all, I want to get out there. I would be like 40%, maybe 50% more behind this as a film if it wasn't called The Flash. I think that even though, like, just a big comparison, a lot of people are upset that they introduced Doomsday and did the Death of Superman kind of storyline with Batman v Superman, like the second one that Henry Cavill was in. And while I don't agree with that, at least they had the patience to wait until the sequel. I think that doing Flashpoint in the first movie was a giant mistake and remains a giant mistake because the movie had to give a hand to Andy Muschietti and the BX crew and the VFX crew and the cinematographer and anyone working here on the visuals because they're knocking it out of the park. It just gets started with this trailer and because everything I think on the visual level with the Flash, maybe not the costume. I think the costume is getting a little bit. It looks better in motion than it does in like a lot of the pictures, a lot of the stills. But I think that what's really holding it back is that it is a lot of CGI. It's very smooth, and so it makes the cowl, which is already very disproportionate, look even worse. And the lines aren't really helping because it gives everything a contour, which just kind of draws the eye to the figure and to the silhouette, and again accentuates how big that cowl is. Um, but in terms of like actual sort of visuals and aesthetics, I think this movie looks beautiful, looks fantastic in terms of like the mood, the lighting, camera work, everything looks exciting. I think I haven't really been a big fan of Andy Muschietti's movies. I wasn't a big fan of the movies. I wasn't a big fan of a lot of his other stuff. And so when he got picked for the Flash, I'm like, they've been through like 8 different directors, and they picked this guy who I'm not really a big fan of. And I can admit when I'm wrong, and I'm going to admit that I was wrong about Andy Muschietti. I think that he's knocking it out of the park here. And with the ingredients he had to use and the obvious mandates he had to work with. Now, Ezra Miller, um, obviously, point of controversy, which I don't want to like remove or sort of ignore what they've done and the kind of stuff they've been couple of and all the kind of trauma they've induced for other people that had like the past year or so. So I wanted to get that out of the way. Now, another thing I want to talk about is this movie. I think it's the best that Ezra Miller has done with the character of Barry Allen. Now, obviously, in previous appearances, like in Justice League, both cuts, and in like Peacemaker, they've been played as this kind of very awkward, goofy, comic relief kind of character. And I really, and that would be fine if the jokes were good, but they aren't. And unfortunately, we have the first Flash movie, and they've gone a very different tag fit. I think that um, Ezra Miller is playing a very mature, or at least a more mature, more noticeably nuanced Barry Allen in this trailer, which is great. But it would have been really awesome if they had seen, if we could have seen that development already. Like it feels like we're leapfrogging for the purposes of the film because, as you've seen the trailer probably already, they're doing a mature, older Barry Allen and someone they're calling young Barry Allen. In order to make that kind of distinction work, they're like, we need this one to act like a grown up now. Like they've kind of gone through all their character development. And that would have been really fun to see in like a proper series of Flash films. Hell, you could have done like a proper Barry Allen Flash trilogy leading up to this, because this feels very unearned in so many ways. Because like young Barry Allen doesn't feel that distinct because that's the Barry Allen we've seen. So we're just kind of like we're kind of skipping over so much of this stuff in order to make the film work. That would have been cool to have seen regularly play out like in an actual Flash trilogy where we got to see both not only Barry Allen grow but also the Flash world develop to the point that we're reaching Flashpoint in a sort of Captain America Civil War kind of way. Where like, yeah, we had Captain America 1, Captain America 2, we had the Avengers movies that also developed Captain America's character. Then we got Civil War, which was Captain America 3 technically, but it was still something that had so much more groundwork done with done for it. And this is like if again the first Captain America movie was Civil War. It feels very unearned. Um, it feels very sudden, and that's a shame. Except we're going through a lot again. A lot of visuals are really incredible. I think that the super speed, which I was shocked because super speed and speedsters are kind of in vogue right now. They're kind of in fashion. So I wasn't expecting a lot from this, and I think Andy Muschietti and the crew are knocking it out of the park and creating visuals that are very creative for speedsters that we really haven't seen before. So kudos to them. Wait, here's Robin Livingston as Barry Allen's father, Henry Allen, taking over for Billy Crudup. I think he looks really young, but I'm not going to knock him for aging well. And you know, I hope he's going to do a good job. It's gonna be like a shame that Billy Crudup wasn't in this film because it was like one of the few things that had been set up before. So again, it's a matter of this that dissonance, that distance between what we should be feeling for this movie and also what's actually being told here. And again, like I think the color palette, the visual style, like the visual impact, a lot of these things is just bar none. It's really like I wish this were a proper Flash film and not Flashpoint. Um, but talking about Flashpoint, oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, Barry Allen, young Barry Allen. But like the last time we saw him, he was this guy. So it feels unearned. There's no groundwork. There's no foundation. But talking about Flashpoint, see, look, fantastic image. You gotta love the lightning bolt effect, the lightning bolt moment. We get struck by lightning because now I love that reveal of the flash ring. I think it looks so cool. But again, I want to put this down. I want to say this down right. It feels like we're in the middle of a ghostly crossover. Like not, I wanted to bring up Aquaman at this point because with Aquaman, the idea and see here, you have Tan saying my friend Tan saying new Batman movie. Yeah, exactly. It's a new Batman movie. Like we're seeing Ben Affleck, we're seeing Tim Burton's Batman, Michael Keaton, and it's a shame. It's a shame because I want to bring up Aquaman. Aquaman, I think, is the platonic ideal how to do a origin movie that is within a grander universe. Because Aquaman, you get a reference to Justice League, you get a reference to Superman, you get a reference to Batman for like 10 seconds. And the rest is just kind of focused on setting up what this character is about in this world, what their mythology is, what their backstory is, what their lore is, and making that count. And here we have the focus isn't on that. It's on this greater, kind of grander DCU scope. You're not caring about Barry Allen or Barry Allen's The Flash mythology. You're just using Barry Allen as a prop to carry forward what is obviously and what people have kind of been talking about interpolitics agendas at the studio. We're like, oh, we need this to reboot the universe. So you're kind of wasting that character uh, as a whole, and it's a shame. It's nice to see Ben Affleck, but then we're going into like stuff where Man of Steel. And this is going to be like a what if for Man of Steel. And again, that's kind of poetic. First movie in the DCU was Man of Steel, and the last movie in it is going to be Man of Steel what if. But it's just it's so um, it's so much set apart from like not only Flash as a whole, but also Flashpoint. Flashpoint had this whole world set up where it was the entire world that was in chaos. But now we're just kind of going back to something familiar because the DCU doesn't have that groundwork, doesn't have that building up to things. If you had more done with Aquaman, you had more done with Wonder Woman, you had more done with Superman, you could have had that world set up where you could have done a proper Flashpoint world where all those elements were at war with each other. But no, we gotta go back to Man of Steel because that's like one of the few things people kind of like. I love Man of Steel, and people have become, I think, more accepting of it. And it's mostly seen as like, hey, one of the few good movies in the franchise, which I don't agree with. I think most of them are pretty good. Um, but yeah, no, it's a shame because it takes what Flashpoint was never a Flash centric story, not even in the comics. But now um, it feels even more like distinctly non-Flash because it's focused not on like the greater CU anymore. It's focused simply on Superman and Batman. Those are the big plot like engines of this of this movie. And I want to say one thing though. The one thing that I think makes this probably going to end up being the best Flashpoint adaptation. Oh, here's another comment from Tan. I honestly think it's just a pivot because of Ezra's personal life. I would agree, but this movie was like in production for like 8 years, and the first time they announced it, it was just going to be a Flashpoint movie. That's always what they wanted to do. Um, and they all and that big kind of concept art they gave for it, like back in like 2016, was of Barry and uh, Tim Burton Batman. So I want to believe this, but this movie was doomed from the beginning. But good on point. Like I'm, even though Flashpoint isn't that great of an event, I do love so much from it. I think that's a lot of the tie-ins are fantastic. A lot of the subplots are really good, and I'm glad that at least this movie is adapting one part of that event that a lot of the other adaptations have ignored, especially like some of the ones from the actual Flash TV show that everyone seems to love, but it's just awful. It's still awful. And that is Project Superman, which is the idea that, Superman was sent to Earth and government picked him up instead of the Kents, and they put him in a lab and studied him and ran tests on him. But they're doing that with Supergirl. And I think that's kind of incredible because that was such a heart-wrenching and such a nuanced subplot of that original comic event. So to see it like play out in live action, that's great. That's fantastic. I just wish it wasn't in the Flash. Like this was just called Flashpoint. I think it would be so much better. Like because you could set it apart. Like, oh, it's not the Flash. It's Flashpoint. It's like it's the name of the entire crossover. So it's a crossover film rather than just being the first Flash movie. Because like, what happens if you make like the next Flash movie and you make it more like a regular Flash story? How can you go from Flashpoint to like him, stopping robbers? That's why you need the progression. That's why you need the build up, and it's gonna be so. It's gonna be really distracting. Again, more Man of Steel stuff, more Burden Batman stuff, and again, Michael Keaton's been narrating this entire trailer, and I think he's doing a really good job. I think that Michael Keaton has aged really well. He's got like a lot more imposing with his voice. Back when '89 Batman, he was like very young, a lot more youthful in his voice, but he's got this nice gravelly voice, which I think works perfectly for Batman. But I hate this. I hate this bit of the trailer because it knows like people care about Bird and Batman. So just kind of a long zoom in, then a long pause. You're like, oh, I'm Batman. I'm like, I get it. That's what you're selling this movie on, but I wish it was more about the Flash. It's called the Flash, and I think that Burning Batman is at least an interesting substitute for the Batman in Flashpoint, which was the Thomas Wayne Batman, Red Batman. He was like very murderous, because I think of all the live action cinematic Batman, Keaton was the most bloodthirsty. Uh, so that's nice. And I think he did a good job. I think Keenan is very charming, very enigmatic. He's even when he plays complete asshole. Have you seen the founder that Origins of McDonald's biopic he did? He plays a complete shithead in that, but you know, he's at least he's a likable shithead. Uh, but oh wait, I want to mention this one thing. I think the bats looks terrible. It looks like a really bad attempt at trying to modernize the Burden bat suit. And it looks too top heavy. It looks so sleek, but in weird proportional ways. What made that original bat suit work is because it was kind of molded like a Greek statue, so it had a little bit of an elegance to it. And this was like flat plastic slabs. It doesn't look good. But again, Muschietti is doing a lot of very fun visual things. I think the action looks fun, looks very vibrant, very vivid, very fluid action. And this looks amazing. You can tell what they're going to do here. Supergirl carrying either young Barry or regular Barry, whichever one has lost their powers, into a thundercloud, and he's going to get struck and be like very visually fantastic. And and that's what I mean. Like this, I think this movie's gonna be really fun. I think this movie's gonna be really impactful. I think it's gonna be like really emotional. I might even really enjoy it. But the fact that it's called the Flash is always gonna be the anchor on its neck, and that's gonna be a shame. Because like, look at again. Like, I know there's big rumors about Muschietti either being kind of considered for doing the new Superman movie or the new Batman movie or even the Justice League reboot. And I say, you know what? Give him the keys to it. I did not like any of their movies, but he is pulling out all these stops here, and I think he's kind of earned it. I really do think he's earned it. People have been noticing, like, yeah, the part where like young Barry and regular Barry decide to race across the Earth uh, side by side. That's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be awesome. And I wish that the movie had more emotional impact to make that kind of juxtaposition, that kind of beat more worthwhile. Where we got to see Barry go from a youthful character to this more mature character in this trailer, and then having to team up with like his own past. But again, no setup, no emotional impact, but it looks cool. It looks really cool. Like lightning rod, batarang. Again, all these fun visual quirks. But it's again, it. I hate the fact that it's so Man of Steel centric because we know what happened in Man of Steel. Man of Steel is very kind of small scale relative to like how where the action set pieces are. You have the desert, you have Metropolis, and that's where you're kind of at. And it kind of like really deflates the whole scope of Flashpoint, unfortunately. Uh, and again, the fact that it's so centered on Superman stuff, it makes it less impressive that the Flash had this much impact. Now, here's one thing I want to mention. People have been like, "Yeah, Ben Affleck Batman in blue and yellow and gray," and they only seem to mention the colors, not the fact that the costume design looks like complete shit. Like, okay, yeah, the colors. Are you like blind in every other way other than colors? Look at this. Look at all this. It's gigantically nonsensical, and it looks ugly as hell. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. I think that again, I think that the Project Superman or Project Supergirl stuff is gonna be best stuff. All the shots we've had of that aspect of that subplot have had this enigmatic, this powerful, kind of haunting, kind of tense look to it, and I think that's gonna be like some very heartening stuff to watch in the theaters. Yeah, like that's fantastic. Just lots of quick cuts, lots of quick action. I think Sasha Kai is I think she should stay. I know that they're doing a Supergirl movie and that Sasakaya, who plays Supergirl in this movie, was supposed to get her own spin-off movie that they did canceled. I hope they keep the actress around. I think that she's clearly going to be doing a great job, and it would be unfair to reboot um, without her. I think that would be like honestly very insulting to the actress. Yeah, no, this is so distracting, and then I'm not going to even comment more on Ezra Miller. But yeah, look, one of these moments, like, see, look, young Barry is like this comic relief character, but that was literally what we last saw the character as. So I'm not buying the fact that like, oh, we had the more mature Barry, the more grown-up Barry. If they had made three Flash movies and then this, fine, you know, or they made two Flash movies and then this, that'd be great too. But it just feels unearned. It feels forced. And I hope this doesn't, put a kibosh in a proper Flash film. We see him, actually doing Flash stuff. Fighting the Rogues, Captain Boomerang, Captain Cold, Heat Wave. Or even Gorilla Grodd, because I think there's gonna be like this worry that either if this is really well, we gotta do more multiverse stuff, more time travel stuff, and I don't want any of that. I want a proper like grounded kind of Flash film that takes advantage of his setting without having to do all this insane over the top stuff to get people interested. Flash is interesting enough. But yeah, one more comment. Tan says he hopes he's back home for it. You know what? Hope you're back home too, because I might want to see this in the theaters as well. But yeah, let me know what you think below. Are you interested in the Flash? Do you think that this is gonna be a good Flash movie or a good Flashpoint movie? And what are your thoughts on like if this is really gonna be the transition to the to the new DCU? I know Gunnar said like this leads to our new universe, but people are saying that maybe he's lying. Maybe he's just saying that so that people watch it, um, and that it's really he's just gonna junk it the moment it comes out or the moment it's out of theaters, which I could buy. Anyway, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and see you next time. Thank you for watching, and hope you have a good one.